Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman. If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes.
Someone made a meme of Auschwitz, the sign above Auschwitz, and it says, work will set you free. Someone changed it to, it depends on the context. Arynne Wexler is here, UPenn graduate. That was the president of University of Pennsylvania Ivy League School. Arynne Wexler is a graduate of that school. Her social media, non-lib take. Arynne, how are you?
Hey, Mike, I'm great. Thanks for having me. But please don't hold it against me that I went to Penn.
Totally, I agree. I won't. We'll just say you went to school in Philadelphia. It's much more general and wonderful. When did you become a conservative, or were you politically active on campus when you were there?
I was politically active on campus. I have been a conservative since I was a young kid in New York. So I have very thick skin. It has been a lifetime of defending my beliefs. And when I was in college, I was part of the College Republicans group. I was editor-in-chief of Penn Political Review, which at the time was a bipartisan or nonpartisan paper. But things have changed a lot since I was there. Although when I was there, we had the signs of these great institutions, these universities turning into what is essentially a woke madrasa at this point, churning out woke, blue-haired Zers who are totally ill-prepared to deal with the world now.
Yeah. So what did you see when you were there? How intentional was their indoctrination?
It was very intentional, and it's definitely reflective of what we're seeing in the broader culture today. It's really these institutions, what we're seeing, we're so focused on the colleges, the campuses right now, but they are just the smoke to the fireball that is our culture everywhere. And as much as we could blame the left for this and the very woke professors and presidents leading these institutions, we as conservatives do need to take a good look at ourselves and ask ourselves how we let it get this far. It has been the slow boil of the frog, and we've really treated every small step as not a big deal. But now we're at a boiling point as a country, as our culture. And when I was there, you could see the signs. You knew that when you had a conservative professor, they were conservative because they were not telling you their beliefs, whereas your liberal professors thought it was their God-given right, or as they might say it, their science-given right, to shove their opinions down your throat. And you knew that if you wanted to get the A in the class, you had to write a certain kind of narrative and favor a certain argument in your papers. It has always been there. And even when I was an undergrad student almost a decade ago, you could see how the university was slowly taking apart the culture, first with Greek life that they thought represented the patriarchy, to the professors that they were hiring to replace the old guard.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've talked before about the history of why and when the left purposefully decided to go into academia and really take it over and make it like this fortress of progressivism that they can indoctrinate and send professors out, professionals out to the world. But that's one thing. But then I've never really considered the conservatives who were there. Maybe they just never put up a fight. Like, why did they cede that ground? Or maybe it's kind of what you said at the end there. Maybe they just retired and weren't replaced by other conservatives.
Well, it's all of it. The left has always been very good at mobilizing and influencing the culture. And I think we conservatives felt like it was their right. If people want to think a certain way and have certain beliefs, that was fine. But it was a very subtle transition, which has led us to this point where there are calls for genocide on our college campuses. These universities a long time ago decided that it was more important to be open-minded and favor DEI than to favor rigorous hard work and excellence. And they became so open-minded that their brains fell out. This has been a long time coming for sure. And I'll say one more thing, which is I wonder where all of our donors have been. We're seeing all these billionaires come out now, these major donors calling for these university presidents to step down and for change on campus. Where were they when Penn was allowing a man in the women's locker room, when they were allowing men to compete on women's sports teams? So yes, this is definitely about anti-Semitism, about Jews. It's the world's oldest hatred. But in some ways, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the woke culture. And I'm wondering where everyone was 2 months ago.
Yeah, there's the prestige of it all, right? The glitter of the Ivy League. You walk on campus and there's these big August buildings and the grandeur of it all. And, oh, Ben Franklin at Penn. And there's all this, like, you know, all this to it. I think it just took a lot, right, to see through all of that, all those stone buildings, to see what's really going on there. I got plenty of stories that we can share, but I'd rather ask you do you have an example of just like some nonsense that you remember hearing on campus when you were there? That's just like, whoa, what? Like maybe something that was like on campus that you thought would only stay on campus, but now like everyone believes this stuff. It's just normal now.
Yeah, I actually think it goes back even to high school. So I was in a New York City prep school over a decade ago, at this point, almost 15 years. And I was put on a diversity panel when I was in high school for middle schoolers, showing them it was okay to be different. They had someone who was on financial aid. They had a lesbian, a very tall kid, a religiously different kid, and me as a conservative. And when I stood up on that podium and said, I believe in limited government, individual autonomy, and a strong military, because I am a Republican, you could hear the gasps in the audience, like the absolute horror that they let a conservative into the school. And for the year after that, I would have girls come up to me in the bathroom whispering, I'm a conservative too. You know, it was this underground conservative movement in the high school. So this goes way further back from even universities. And it's at the point where they claim that they are places for safe spaces, but it's a safe space as long as you're not a white man, a Jew, or a conservative.
Yeah, surely. And I bet on that panel that they have at that school, I bet they don't have conservatives on it anymore. That doesn't even count.
No, we're not allowed
anymore. No. When your kids turn 17 and they want to be just like mom and they want to go to Penn, what would you say to them?
Over my dead body, I will not be sending any children to these universities. I think they're so far past redemption. Sometimes, with a house, there's a good cleaning that it needs, or a renovation, or a gutting, or a tear down. We are at the point with these institutions where we need to tear them down and start over. We need new institutions like University of Austin. There are, really great people starting new foundations. And that's where we need to go, because at this point, it's not only the president. So getting rid of President McGill, we'll see what happens at Harvard. It's only the first step. The rot is so deep, down to the professors, down to the students. I don't know that there is any saving them at this point.
There's a conveyor belt of Claudine Gaze right behind her. Arynne Wexler, UPenn grad. Follow on all the socials, non-lib take. Arynne, great to talk to you. We'll do it again.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you. Think about how far our schools have fallen. Like no Penn grad or Harvard or Yale, whatever, would ever think I won't send my kids there. Like one of the points of going there is so that you can then send your kids there one day. Let me end on this point. So the Ivy League schools, except for Cornell, because Cornell was founded after the Civil War, but the other 7 Ivy League schools, they were all founded as seminaries. Yale's founding principle was youth may be instructed in the arts and sciences who through the blessing of God may be fitted for public employment both in church and civil state. And students were required to live religious, godly, blameless lives according to the rules of God's word. They were required to diligently read the Holy Scriptures, the fountain of light and truth, and to constantly attend upon all the duties of religion, both in public and in secret. That was the motto of Yale. If you wanted to go to Yale in 1701, that's what you needed to do. That's who you were. That's what the school was. The other day, I went to the website of the Yale's chaplain office. And here's their logo at the Yale chaplain's office. It's the coexist bumper sticker on steroids. I don't even know what some of those logos are. Like, what's the feather in that? I don't even know, like, what religion even are those things? The motto of Harvard is Veritas, and a lot of people have made the point that their motto is truth, and now the president's talking about my truth, all that, right? That's not the original motto for Harvard. The original motto for Harvard in 1650 was for the glory of Christ. Princeton's motto, it's still on their shield, don't tell anyone this. It says in Latin, it says New Testament. And then underneath it, the motto is, Under God's protection, she flourishes. That's the official motto. The unofficial motto today is in the service of humanity. So you see the difference? Under God's protection, she flourishes, to in the service of humanity and trans people. The president of Yale, Timothy Dwight, 1795, his name's all over campus. Again, don't tell the kids at Yale. 1795, he said, to commit our children to the care of irreligious persons is to commit lambs to the superintendency of wolves. To give our kids to this brood of woke vipers, it's a risky move. Would you do it? Look at our universities now. As our last guest said, Arynne, the rot is deep. Christopher Hitchens, he said, you see now how far the termites have spread and how long and how well they have dined. I look forward to the rise of alternatives to what we've seen for a long time, unquestioned, what has been going on unquestioned for a long time. There must be alternatives, and we must choose them.